Hi, Patrick here. Welcome to this. Welcome to the 100th episode of Dollar Theater. And tonight's movie we're going to be looking at, or today's movie we're going to be looking at, is from 2002, and it is Serving Sarah. Now, the original film I had scheduled, I'm going to try to do that here in a couple of weeks, but I really wanted to do this one and talk a little bit about it afterwards. So this is a 2002 film. 2002 film. Matthew Perry, Elizabeth Hurley, Bruce Campbell, Amy Adams, Terry Crews, Vincent Pastore, Jerry Stiller. A great looking cast. The cast is pretty good. Pretty good. And the story is basically about a process server named Joe Tyler, who's played by Matthew Perry, and he is supposed to be serving Sarah Moore, who is a trophy wife of Bruce Campbell's Gordon Moore. And Bruce Campbell is Sarah has no idea that her husband wants to divorce her. He's got himself a new girl, but he wants to get Sarah served in New York. He wants to get her. Well, actually, he wants to get her served in Texas, so he can get more money. He wants to be in Texas and she in New York. He wants to serve her first because it'll be a lot better for him because the divorce will take place in Texas. Well, Joe tries and he fumbles against Sarah. She evades him. And so Ray Harris, the boss, he decides he's going to pass it over to the second guy, Tony, because Tony's been on a hot streak lately in getting processes, getting people served. Of course, Joe points out that all his paperwork that he's done for all these servings has been wrong, so he'll have to go back and redo them all, or otherwise they won't count in court. So that, of course, causes Ray a lot of stress, and so he decides he's going to give the Moore case back to Joe. Joe tries to serve Sarah, but she outfoxes him, and then then Ray decides to give it back to Tony. And Joe's a little smarter than he appears to be. He realizes something's not right, and so he's got an idea about how Tony seems to be outfoxing him. So he leaves a paper trail for Tony and see if that's exactly what's happening, and we find out later it is. Anyway, Sarah and Joe, he's gonna he served her first as he was required, and he calls Ray and says, "I've served her," but then Sarah comes back and says, "Well, what would happen if I served my husband first?" Well, and then he explains that because if you served him first, the case would be in New York, and you would do a lot better here in New York than you would in Texas. So Sarah says, "Well, if you serve my husband first, I'll give you $1,000,000." And so Joe says that's the deal. So the rest of the movie, it's them trying to serve Gordon with his papers, and Gordon trying to serve Sarah with her papers, and which one's going to get served first. And of course, Joe and Sarah, during the course of this romp, slowly fall in love, and at the end of the movie, live happily ever after. Okay. I like Matthew Perry. I do. I thought he was funny. I think he was funny in Friends. And he was pretty funny in Friends. He actually did a very memorable episode of Scrubs with his his real life dad, John Bennett Perry. But knowing what he was going through when he was filming this movie, it really is sad, and you can see it on the screen. You can see it on the screen even without knowing, because I didn't know until I started doing this review. I didn't know that he was really battling hard his addiction. He was a gifted actor, and he's a very funny guy. In this movie, though, he just his character came across as not fun at all. Very sarcastic, very cynical, very bitter. and it came through his character, and he was struggling. Um, and of course, well, the one thing I noticed right off the bat too is, and I know they were real. One of the things that they showed us, he wanted to grow his own, make his own wine, and they showed scenes of him, drinking, making his own wine. It's sort of sad knowing that, and even before going into this movie, that his addiction problems have been noted. They've been reported on, and then I just thought it was just senseless and careless and insensitive for the director Reginald Hudlin to allow the scenes in the movie. I've seen this before, and I've commented on it before without going too much into it. But David Fincher did the same thing with Ben Affleck and Gone Girl. He did the same thing. He allowed a star that was struggling with his addiction to go ahead and drink on camera. I don't get that. And because Matthew Perry was in such a bad state, I mean, they're saying that at the time they had to postpone shooting this movie for up to 2 months because he had to go to rehab, and he was drinking a quart of vodka a day, allegedly. Uh, it's a shame because this movie could have been if they had, it could have been decent. It could have been good. Um, and initially I'm looking at the chemistry between Matthew Perry and Elizabeth Hurley, and it wasn't there. But it wasn't because of those two. It was because you knew that he was sick, and addicted, and he came across all wrong. His character was all edges and sharpness. There was no likability here. Elizabeth Hurley was great. She tried. She gave her best. Um, the like I said, the cast for this movie, on any other year, you put this cast together with Matthew Perry, clean and sober Perry, this movie's going to do well. But people came and saw this movie, did not like it. They did not like him. He was not in a good place, and it showed on screen, and the audience felt that, and they did not like it. This movie was made for $29 million and it recouped 20. And the critical responses was savage, savage. Um, the reason I'm mentioning this, the reason I'm showing this movie now is that they're talking about today about Matthew Perry, and they arrested 5 people in to help cause his death through supplying him with ketamine, and I just felt really sad for him. People who were trying, everybody knew that he was battling an addiction, and these 5 people, 2 of them medical doctors, and they were bragging at how much money they could get this guy to pay for this. They conspired to basically try to milk him as much money as they could, and they ended up killing him. And I just found that to be very heartbreaking. He fought so hard for his sobriety, and the medical people just let him down completely. And this just gives you this movie here just gives you a what could have been. Um, if you watch this movie without knowing Matthew Perry and what he went through, and then you look at it through what it could be. Now I will say this: as much as I liked him in this movie, but I did notice one thing: he was not leading man material. He never really was. He'd be good for the second, the sidekick, the best friend roles. But as far as the leading man goes, he just didn't have it. He never did. Not to me anyway. Um, and the I think he was just that's a lot of there's a lot of pressure on being a leading man in a Hollywood movie versus being the main support or the third support, third on the call list. There's not much pressure. You're opening the movie. Your name is on the title, over the title. You're expected to carry. And so, it was a lot of pressure for him, and him being so ill at the time. I think that the movie should have probably been recast, to tell you the truth. I think if this movie had been recast or had been pushed back a year while he gained his footing, I think this movie would have came across a lot better, a lot better. Of course, some of the writing could have been really improved as well. Um, there were some jokes there that were just that fell flat. A lot of slapstick humor. Um, I don't know. I'm not going to crush this movie. Like I said, I thought it was decent. I thought Amy Adams sparkled in her small role. It was, and Terry Crews was great. I wish even, and Bruce Campbell, once again, he showed that if he got screen time, if he actually got screen time, which he didn't get all that much here, he could help carry a film as well. His Gordon Moore was funny and not an asshole. I mean, he was just like, he didn't come across. He just liked to love the ladies. He just happened to want to marry every one of them that he met. Um, but he didn't come across as being a really bad guy. He's just misguided. But he was great. He just needed a little bit more screen time. Um, yeah, I this is an interesting film for me. I watched it and yeah, I liked it. I mean, of what I recommend it, I don't, what could have been? What could have been? It's like watching Tom Sizemore in any role that he did. When you think of Tom Sizemore, you look at him and go like, what could have been before addiction ruined his career? Or like a Philip Seymour Hoffman, what could have been? Michael K. Williams, what could have been? It's a tremendous sadness and loss of what could have been, and you mourn that as a movie goer and as a human being. Um, so I'm glad I watched it, and I'm glad it's the 100th movie for Dollar Theater. But what do you guys think? I mean, what do you feel about this movie? Do you think it was a good movie? Did you like it? Were you fans of Matthew Perry? What did you think of his? What do you think of his performance? Um, what was your favorite Matthew Perry performance, or Elizabeth Hurley? She looked really different here from Austin Powers. She looked really nice. She looked really good here. And like I said, I mean the rest of the cast, man, this is actually a really strong cast if you look at it. But so yeah, this is our 100th episode of Dollar Theater, and thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the sub button. Drop a comment down below. I'd like to hear what you think about this one. And hit the like button. The like button helps the channel out as well as the comments, and I do appreciate it. And we will see you next. We'll see you next Monday for the next edition of Dollar Theater. Now I'm going to be doing another edition on Fridays. On Fridays, I'm going to do another edition, but those are all going to be reviewed based on voters, on your votes. I'm going to be putting 5 movies up every week, and the winner will get reviewed, and I will put that review up on Friday. And look for that starting a week from today. The first one will go up today or next Friday. All right. That's it for this edition. Thanks for watching, and we will talk at you soon. Peace.